What's up guys, short info, I forgot to mention it in the video. I put the link of the guide for this deck in the description below, so you can check it out in the Terran. That's it, see you guys in the video.
What's up guys, Nico here, back with some content. In the last video I created a Nafas deck only with cards of the starter deck and also published a guide on the website. In today's video I'm going to do the same, but this time with the Arachnids. I think many of you are playing the Arachnids, and also some of you guys asked me to do it, so I will just create a really cool Arachnid deck, and I will explain the reasoning behind every card and also the matchups and how we're going to use our strategy against our opponent. Yeah, I think we will just start and head to the old mill. Let's see if we meet Steve or if we go outside. So we are outside. In case you haven't seen that already, I mean, look at that. The artwork is so beautiful. Yeah, shout out to Luca Brico for this amazing artwork, and shout out to Tyler Klein for his amazing music. Both guys are great to work with. So let's move to the Arachnids. Obviously you can see that I have all the cards, but as I said, we're only gonna use cards of the starter deck. The first big question that I asked myself before thinking about this deck was Akurus or Rezu Zartuzo. Which card or which hero should we take? I think I had ideas for both heroes for nice decks, but I thought I'm gonna take Rezu Zartuzo because he is probably, the strategy we're going to use with him is probably easier to play for a beginner than using Akurus. So like I did last time, I'm gonna create a deck, and I'm gonna call it the Giant. That's Rezu, and Friends. That's the rest of the deck. So, we could just call it Giant and Friends, then it's not that long. So we are going to take Rezu Zartuzo. As a Guardian, we have the option between Cantagialore or Kratos. No. So Cantagialore, her ability is identifying weakness. The defense value of all enemy master cards is reduced by 1. And Kratos, his ability is leadership. The defense value of all our masters is enhanced by 1. So we could either go for our masters or for to enhance our masters, or to decrease the defense value of our opponent's masters. So when I thought about that, I was not sure. So I first took a look at the masters of our deck. We only have 3 options in the starter deck, so we have to take Kalon. Yeah, not only 3 options, we just have 3 masters. That's the case. We're going to take Kalon. We're going to take La Stella, and we are going to take Civisha, because those are the 3 masters that are included in the starter deck. So now, if I look at those 3 cards, what do I see? I see Kalon with 9/5, La Stella with 6/7, and Civisha with 7/7. So now I was already thinking that when I added the masters to the deck, I was already thinking about, okay, which matchups could we possibly face? let's say we face the Nafas. The Nafas deck contains, starter deck also contains 3 masters, and one of the masters is June. June has 8 attack. So if we would take those 3 cards, we would have 2 cards. All 3 cards would be would have a lower defense value than 8. They have 7, 7, and 5. Then I thought about the Nordor, and there's Volga. Volga is 8/8. And then I thought about the Tagari, and in this deck there is Kele, also with 8 attack, 3 defense, and 3 movement. So there's, in every other starter deck, there is 1 master at least with 8 attack. And then, in my opinion, I thought we have to take Kratos, because, as we already saw, Kratos, his ability is called Leadership, and he is increasing the defense value of all masters by 1, which means Karin has 9/6. That's not that relevant for us, but La Stella will have 6/8, and Sivishra will have 7/8. That means that if we face June, Volga, or Kele, those cards cannot destroy our 2 masters, because their attack value is 8 and our defense value is 8, and as you know, you need 1 more attack than defense to destroy a card. And if we think about Kele, for example, we know that Kele has 3 defense only, and Sivishra could attack in close combat with 4 attack and destroy Kele. So the matchup against Kele is good, the matchup against Volga is good, and the matchup against June is good. That's why I'm going to take Kratos. The only thing is that we have to take into consideration is that if we play against the Nordor, that if our opponent is playing Volga, we have to be careful with La Stella, because Volga is resilient against Hermeticists and La Stella is a Hermeticist. So we have to be careful there. Those are the 3 master cards. And before we head to the Pioneers, I would like to move to the Warriors first. There is one more thing we have to take into consideration, is that for example, if we play the Nordor again, the Nordor starter deck doesn't contain Lorik Bombard. That's the guy with 3 range and 8 attack, but most of the players unlock him at the very early stage. So with his 8 attack and his 3 range, he is a threat to everyone. Now, as we know, our 2 masters, La Stella and Sivishra, have 8 defense, which means they can face against Lorik, and both would destroy him with their attack value. Sivishra would also destroy him with her attack value, even in close combat, despite the 50% damage reduction. So that's also a good counter against Lorik and the masters with 8 attack. In addition to that, we will use Aspos. He has 2/4, 2/1. We can take him 2 times in the deck, because he's 2 times in the starter deck. I think so. Aspos, yeah, he's 2 times. So we will take him 2 times, and what happens? He has now 4/8 if we stack him. Again, 8 defense, counters the other masters, and counters Lorik Bombard, for example, which means Lorik Bombard has 3 defense, and with 4 attack we could also destroy Lorik. And as well, there are other cards like Victor Traudor, who has 3 movement and 3 defense. We could face against those cards. We have Chatasi from the Nafas with 4 attack, 3 movement, and 3 defense. We could face against Chatasi. So there are a lot of cards that can be countered with Aspos. So we're going to take Aspos 2 times in the deck. And then, which other warriors are we going to use? We are going to use, okay, let's start with the high defense warriors. So we will use a Lanchur Nekorsak with his 1/5/1/1, and we will use, we have him 4 times in the starter deck, so we can use him 4 times. And we have Sake Obul with 2/4/1/1, and he is also 3 times in the starter deck, so we're going to take him 3 times. Now some of you might say, yeah, but they only have 1 movement, and what can we do with them? Well, in our strategy, in that deck, we will use them as a protection for our Guardian. That means, with that strategy, we have Erezzo Zarduso with a high defense value. We have to move out in the neutral zone, especially with the Masters, La Stella, Civisra, and Aspos. They all have 8 defense, so we can take, we can move out in the neutral zone, and we can take control over it, especially because we counter those cards. That means that our Guardian, a marksman, Kratos, is left alone. I mean, he has 10 defense and 2 range. It's good, but there are probably some cards like Alnarash, if he's Fellowship with, if he's Mammoth also in the deck, he has 11 attack, who could destroy our Guardian. But that's when our warrior, high defense warriors come into place, because we won't take them in the starting 5, neither Lanchur nor Sake Obul, but as soon as we draw them, we will put them in front of our Guardian. That means we can either choose left or the right side for one of those. So we, for example, if we draw Lanchur, 2 times Lanchur and 1 time Sake Obul, we will place Lanchur Nekorsak 2 times in the left field in front of the Guardian and Sake Obul in the right field of the Guardian. Every time we draw those cards, we stack them. So there is, in the end, there will be a defense wall with 20 defense and 12 defense. If our opponent destroys one of those cards, we're gonna just place them again there. Doesn't matter. We use them as a protection for our Guardian. That's, especially at the beginning and the mid game, the only reasoning for them. If we don't draw them at all, we have to see how our opponent plays. But I would say if there are 7 cards, we have 20 cards in our deck pile, so there's a high possibility that we draw those cards in the first 2 rounds. Otherwise, we would have to adjust a little bit, but it also depends. I don't think that our opponent will be playing aggressive against our Guardian immediately. That's 9 of 15 warriors. Then we will use Rikki Launis. This card is 2 times in the start deck. We will use him 2 times. The values are 1, 3, 2, and 1. Stacked, it would be 2, 6, 2, and 1. So how we are going to use these cards? In my opinion, they are very valuable for this strategy, because we will use them not in the starting 5, but as soon as we draw them, we will use them as a protection for our hero. Why do we need to protect our hero? Because he has 15 defense. Because our opponent most likely will try to destroy Erezzo at the early stage, because he has the ability Fighting Spirit, Adrenaline, and every time the Maul drops on 20 or on 10 or below, his defense value increases by 1. So on 20 to 16 and on 10 to 17. Which means if our opponent wants to destroy Erezzo, he has to do it early. And we are going to use those cards as soon as we draw them. If it's not early, maybe it's later, but to place them beside our hero, which means it will make it even harder for our opponent to destroy Erezzo, because those cards will take the fields away where Erezzo could be attacked from. And also, if they don't destroy those cards, we could use them also as a protection for our marksmen. For example, for Civisra, or for another pioneers we are going to take into the deck. So those cards will be most likely sacrificial lambs, but that's their job. You can read their story. They know how to do it, and yeah, that's how we're going to use them. So we have 4 warriors left to take. The next one is we take Xula. She can also be taken 2 times in the deck, and she is 2 times in the starter deck. She has 3, 1, 2, 2, 2 movement and 2 range. That's a pretty good card for us to draw. If we draw her, we will just close the gap and place them behind Retsu and his fellows. Because we, as we said, we try to take control over the neutral zone early with those high defense cards, with Retsu, with our masters, and with Aspos. And then if we draw those warrior cards, Xula and Reykjavik, which we will try to use them to get either behind Retsu or beside Retsu. And yeah, then we have 2 cards left. We have Lika Laivia. The ability of this card is Infection Zone Steadfastness. Every time this card gets destroyed, so if this card gets destroyed, it will reduce the defense value of all adjacent enemy units by 2. We could also use this card, the same as Reykjavik, to close the gap when we draw this card, and then to place and move this card around Retsu. So our opponent would need to destroy this card first, which makes it difficult for our opponent because he has to take this ability into consideration, otherwise the defense value of our opponent's cards will get reduced. And the last card we're going to take is Diagros, simply because he has gives us time budget by 10 seconds. That's a lot, especially for the end game when there is difficult decisions to make. And also his values 4, 2, 2, 1 are pretty good to use him in different situations. Most of the time, of course, if you use him aggressively, he probably will die, but yeah, we will also get something from it. Then we have 7 pioneers left. Regarding pioneers, we know now we have warriors that cover our guardian. We have warriors that will cover our hero, and we have warriors that will stand behind our hero to attack from range. And we have Aspos, of course, which we will use for the starting 5. So first of all, we will take 2 or 3 range cards. That would be Alchemia. Alchemia has 4, 4, 2, 2, and she's a hermeticist, so she can also attack in close combat without the damage reduction of 50%. And she also has a very nice ability, Infection Zone Fighting ability. If she dies when she's being slayed, the attack value of all adjacent enemy units gets reduced by 3, and 3 is a lot. Of course, this excludes cards with the troop strength value, but we could use her as well as a card to play around Retsu. As you might hear from this strategy, we play a lot around Retsu because he has such a high defense value, and it is very dangerous for our opponent to get in range or in the zone of Retsu because there are a lot of cards and because he is also a threat. So we're gonna take Alchemia. Yeah. We are going to take Katara. She has 7, 3, 2, 2, 2 range, a marksman, also 4 attack in close combat, so a good card to take against both cards with 4 attack, to use against masters like Kele, warriors like Chatasi, warrior troops like Viho, pioneers like Lorik and Victor. Yeah, those cards with 4 attack are pretty good to use against a lot of cards. So we have 2 pioneers, and now we also will take Paros. Paros has 5-4-2-1, so solid stats, and also he's giving us starting time budget by 30 seconds with his ability called Great Preparation. Why is that so good for us? Because as a beginner, I said it in the last video when I explained the Arachnid Starter Deck, as a beginner it's very good for us to have more time, because we need more time. There are a lot of things to consider, and with the Agros and now with him, we have 40 seconds more time from the beginning. So we're gonna take him. We have 4 places left. We will take Siarta Yavetsid, also already a toxic name. His ability is Grievous Wounds. The unit's defense value gets reduced by damage dealt. So if this card attacks an opponent's card and the opponent card is still alive, the defense value will be permanently reduced by damage dealt. This means by 5 damage. So when are we going to use this card? First of all, we can use this card anyway against all cards, but especially if we play against the Nafas, because the Nafas have a lot of high defense cards. Let's say, for example, we have Ryuk. He is 9-13, that's a hero of the Nafas. We could use Siarta to pressure this card. We could use it also against Alnarash when Alnarash goes aggressive, and also the masters like Brix, who has 4-9, or the masters of the Nordo like Volga with 8-8, or the hero of the guy of Tapesa with 5-14, 14 defense. We could use Siarta especially against those cards with high defense. That's another pressure on the map. Then we have 3 pioneers left. We will take Sixur, mainly because he has high attack and 2 movement. His defense value is not that great, but that's a card we're just going to use to make pressure. This card will also most likely die, but it is a nice card to draw, especially if there are early exchanges and we or our opponent plays aggressive and there is a constant trading. To draw such a card and place them in the front row so he can immediately join the battle is very valuable. So we're going to take Sixur, and then we have 2 left. The next one we're going to take is Zeka. She has also 2 range and is a Hermeticist, so no damage reduction in close combat, and that's a card we're going to equip. I will explain in a second. So her values are very good. 5-5-2-2. 5 defense is good against a lot of cards. A very valuable card for us. And the last card, and that's a tricky one, is going to be Metalos. Haven't seen him that much though. His ability is called Sword Drop, so the ability type is Bequest. When he dies, that he increases or he enhances the attack value of all melee units by 1, which means all melee units that are adjacent to him, when he dies, their attack value will be enhanced by 1. How are we going to use him? We will probably use him for the starting 5 already. We will take this card to move him with Retsu, because Retsu is also a melee card. So with his 6 attack, he's pretty annoying. I mean, he only has 1 movement, but if we move him with Retsu, we can make pressure with this card as well, and if our opponent has to destroy this card first, it will give Retsu, it will increase Retsu's attack value from 6 to 7. And with 7 attack, he's more dangerous again for other masters or other cards. For example, our June, the masters of the Nafas, has 6 defense. If Retsu has 7 attack, he will counter this card. The hero of the Tagari has 6 defense, Asaki. If Rezo has 7, he will counter this card. So there, and also the master of the Tagari Vapuk has also 6 defense. So this duo is pretty valuable. And also, if our opponent says, yeah, well, I'm not gonna destroy Metalos. Well, if you're not gonna destroy Metalos, he will be pretty annoying. 6 attack against cards is not that low. So I'm really looking forward to see how my opponents or your opponents react to Metalos and the duo with Rezo. So now we have all our character cards and we move to the equipment. Regarding equipment, we have 4 equipment cards in the starter deck. That's Ataxia X, that's the Bio Armor, Chirit Chanka, and the Fruser's Helmet. First of all, as I said, we are going to equip Sekka. She has 5522, and we will give her Ataxia X. The Ataxia X increase the attack value of all her Hermeticists, of the Hermeticists that gets equipped by 2. So we will equip Sekka with the Ataxia X, and then we will use, we have some options, because I'm not going to use the Bio Armor because there's only one card we were going to equip, that would be Kadar, because we will most likely use Civisha in our starting 5. So we are not going to use the Bio Armor because it's only for marksman. We're going to use Chiri Chancha, it's a funny name, increases the attack value of melee cards by 1, and Fruser's Helmet, increasing the defense value of melee cards by 1. Those 2 cards. Now, who are we going to equip? So there is the option that we could say we use the equip on Sixur, but if we use the defense value for Sixur, he would have 4 defense. That's not that valuable because a lot of cards, especially Nordur and also Tagari, have cards with higher attack values, so with more than 4. That would, and we will play him very aggressively, so I don't think that's a good decision to give him this defense value with an equipment card. So in my opinion, because also we could use Ciarta Yaretin in our starting 5, I would say we have 2 options left. Either we will use it for Paros, or we will use it for Diagos. In my opinion, Diagos with 4-2-2-1, I think there is no need to equip him. I think we, no, that's not rare. That's not true. We will do it like that. If we draw the Diagos, we will use the Chirit Chancha, which gives him +1 attack. This makes him a little bit more of a threat. With 5 attack, he can destroy some other cards with 4 defense. And we will use the Fruser's Helmet to give it to Paros. Where is he? So he will have 5-5-2-1 instead of 5-4. The second option would be that we give both equipment cards to Paros, so he would have 6-5-2-1. It's also a good option because with 6 attack, he will destroy a lot of cards that have 5 defense. So there is more pressure if you draw him. That's up to you. Both options are good options. And as we said, the deck is called Giant and Friends. And now we're going to try the deck out in a game and we will see who we face. But before we do that, our starting 5, I would say for the most part, we would use our starting 5 La Stella because of her 8 defense in combination with Kratos. We use Civisha also with 8 defense because of Kratos, and also her ability is called Weapon Collector. That's a Raider ability, When slaying an enemy unit, one of the battle values permanently increases by 1. These abilities are kept by 3. So if she destroys a card, her attack value will increase by 1. There is no point to use this card at the end of the game. We need to use her right from the start, because that's an ability that forces you to play this card. Otherwise, the ability is not usable. So it will be La Stella and Sivisha in our starting 5. It will most likely be Metalos. We will use him together with Retsu. So we have 3 cards, and the other 2 cards for the starting 5 are Aspos. As we know, stacked, those cards will have 4, 8 to 1. So we have 3 cards with 8 defense. We have Metalos, who will increase the attack value of Retsu if he dies, and has also 5 defense. And then, yeah, that's it. There is the option that we could also use Ziarta, Yaretsit, especially against high defense heroes, or against Nafas it would also be a valuable option. Yeah, that's probably it for the starter deck, for this deck, and also for the starting 5. So we will forge this deck, Giant and Friends, and then we head to the main menu. Steve, yes, next time the drinks are on you. That's all right. And now we are going to, I'm going to make a short break, stop the video, and we'll be back in a second. All right. Let's head in the queue, see who is there. I know that Ciora is playing probably. I know that I played someone else before. Let's see who we face and which matchup. So, who do we face? We face Otis and we face Radiana. Okay, there is someone playing Nordur. Now, as we said, we take Aspos with 2-4-2-4 2 times, stacked defense value of 8. Good counter against Volgar if our opponent is playing Volgar. Also good counter against Lorik if our opponent already has unlocked Lorik. As a pioneer, we will take Metalos. We will move in with Retsu. And as masters, we take Trisha, also 8 defense with Kratos. And now we have the option, either we take La Stella, which is a little bit more risky against the Nordo because Volgar is resilient against all her medicists. So we could think about using Kalon. Kalon has an attack value of 9, Volgar has a defense value of 8, it's a good counter, and also has dash, can get in and out safely. So against the Nordo probably, we're not going to take La Stella, we will take Kalon, and then we start. I think I will start the game. Yeah, I start the game. And now, because we said we want to have those fields free for our warriors that we will draw, we choose one side. I will try to immediately get control over the right side. Let's move Retsu. We will move Metalos with him, a little bit more in the middle. And we will use Civisha, Aspos, and Kalon. All right, our opponent chose the same side. He did not start with Volgar. That's good for us, but he took Ardor. We counter Ardor, but now we can move slowly into the neutral zone. So we can move Retsu even right there because only Otis and Elmar can attack, which is 14, and this is not enough for Retsu. We can move Metalos there. He could be destroyed by Otis or by the Night Prince, but that would be just too risky. We will place Kalon right there, so if in case Metalos dies, he will enhance the attack value of Retsu and Kalon, and we will move Civisha right there. So normally you can't move not in every game you can move the cards like that into the neutral zone. There will be more cards that could reach those guys, and it would be a little bit too risky, because you don't have to forget, or you should not forget, that our opponent can now play 3 cards. If he decides to trade with us in that turn, we will be short of 3 cards, and then it will be trade and trade and trade and trade, and because he started to trade, he will most likely out trade us on the long run. And also sometimes your opponent has also a good setup, and it's not that easy to get into the neutral zone, and it takes a little bit longer, maybe 1 or 2 turns, or 2 or 3 turns even. But in the end, yeah, as you can see, he can't do that much. So now we can decide. We will use Katara, play around Retsu, also Reykjavik, play around Retsu, and Xula as well. The first thing we are going to do is we can take Elmer for free. He's not in danger in this field right there. And then we can also move Sivisha in this field. It's also safe right there. We can move Retsu. We will leave Retsu there, and we will just move Kalan right there. Now Kalan is not behind Metalos, but we can make pressure with Kalan on Ardor, and we will force our opponent now to a decision, because he can't. He only has four fields to place cards. You already used 2 of them, and now the 3rd one. And now he is a little bit trapped. He needs to move out his cards now, otherwise he can't place any more cards. Only 1 card left. That's also a problem a lot of beginners have, is they don't want to trade. They don't want to sacrifice some cards, but as you can see, he needs to sacrifice cards. If he moves Ardor, he should have moved Ardor probably out turn before. Maybe sacrifice him, but he could move Rudolf in this field right there, and that would be more threat. But now it's I have a pretty good position on the right side. So what he's doing now, he's trying to push his right side, our left side, and we will have an answer for that. As we said, we will place Sake Obul and Lanchmene Korsak in those fields right there. Because I just drew Sake Obul, I will place him on the left side, because there is pressure coming from this side. I will also use Lika Laivio and Siarta Yavetsi, and Siarta Yavetsi I will use to also on the right side. We don't care about left side. There is no attack value, not enough for our Guardian, and we will draw our high defense warriors, so there's no danger right there. What we can do now is we can use Sivisha and range attack and stack up our attack value with our Raider ability. Then we could move Metalos in this field right there. We could move Aspos in this field right there. Move Katara right there, also range for those fields in case he places cards there. And we will use Reykjavik to play around Retsu. Same thing goes for Xula. And as you can see, there is a lot of cards around Retsu Zarduso, and it is hard to get to him even though he also has 15 defense. So we will force him to play the right side, as you can see. Now he needs to attack, otherwise it will be over quick. So we drew 2 Landhunde Corsac. We will stack them also on the left side around our Guardian. And we will use Sixur as well on the right side. There is really no danger currently on the left side. And even if there is, we don't care. As you can see, our attack value just got increased by 1 because Metalos got destroyed. So he did his job for us, and now we can push even further. Now there is a setup for us in which we could go for our opponent's hero, but that would mean that we will sacrifice our hero as well. We will place our Landhunde Corsac right there, and then we will place Sixur on the right side. So what are we doing? We will use the cards we play around Retsu. We will use them to destroy Ador. We will use Siarta Yavitzid. We will move Katara right there, move Civisha right there, move Aspos right there, move Kalon right there, and stay and probably move Retsu in this field. Even though if he would make it through our sacrificial lambs, it would be shot. So he can only place 1 card now. It would be hard for him to, if he destroys my hero, we will destroy his hero and his master. So as you can see, we are pushing hard on the right side. He is now forced to a decision. Our 2 high defense warriors, they protect our Guardian meanwhile. Now he starts to push the right side more. So he destroyed our Aspos, and Retsu just got his fighting spirit ability in, and he has 1 more defense. So he's on 16 now. He doesn't get to my Guardian, unfortunately for him. He could have, to my hero, he could have, I think, but that would have cost him a lot. I think we can only place 2 cards because of Rudolph. Okay, he stays right there. We will place Lanhur in the Cossack right there. Even more defense around our garden, and we will use La Stella as a backup right there. Now, what can we do? As we said, we will use what makes sense for us. It makes sense to use Kalon against Fred, then dash back out. That's a good option. We can use Civishra against Yanis. That's a good option. And then we will place Lika right there because we know this card is going to die, but this card will lower the attack value of the opponent's cards when it dies. And then we will use Siarta Yavid against Otis. We will lower our opponent's defense value by 5 permanently, which will make him even more vulnerable. And then we will use Sixor as an aggressive card, and we could also even push Katara in there, even though if she would die, that makes it harder for him. As you can see, Lika will die probably. He could still go for my hero. He could still do it with Otis and the Night Prince, but that would be game over next turn. Okay, he went for my master. That's a good trade. Now Otis only has 3 defense left, so he's very vulnerable. And now we have the option, and also the Night Prince only has 3 defense left. Yeah. I think we can finish, but let's do it slowly. We're gonna equip Tekka because we said it. We are playing. Oh, he destroyed 2 cards with less reinforcement, so I can only place 1 card. Alright. There are 16 moral points left, so we need Rudolph, Otis, and the Night Prince. We will take the Night Prince with La Stella. We will take Otis with Sixor. And we will take Rudolph with Civishra. And this was a very good game. Our opponent didn't play really good, in my opinion, because I think he's a new player, but he played pretty well. But we took control early over the right side, and then it was just a matter of time until we would break our opponent. But well played to our opponent, and this was one option or one possibility to play this strategy. This was against the Nordur. It was a fun game, and if you want to have more games with that deck, let me know. And also if you want to see that Akuru's Paralyze deck we could build also with the decks of the starter deck, let me know in the comment section or on Discord, doesn't matter where. And yeah, that's it. Hope to see you guys around on the battlefield, and see you next time.